Folks, welcome into sportsbookreview.com. It's Monday. It's time to talk a little bit of Major League Baseball right here on the channel. Welcome into the Baseball Show for Monday, April the 5th. I'm Donnie Seymour. He's Jason Radowitz, and also with Kyle Purviance here for 1 hour to break down this entire Major League Baseball card. Hope your weekend was well. I'm just going to start by saying this. What if I told you the Phillies have 3 wins? The Nationals have no wins, the Braves have no wins, and the Mets have no wins. A winning week here in Philadelphia, boys. Welcome in anyway. Jason, what's good, brother? Good weekend for you. Welcome back in to Monday.
Yeah, so that Mets and Philly thing, that's about to change. The Mets are going to have a win later tonight with Jacob deGrom on the mound. We'll get into that just in a bit. I see we're looking at the Mets versus Phillies. That's the first game we're going to be talking about, which is really fun. I do have my Pete Alonso shirt on, little polar bear thing going on. So I'm excited for Mets baseball. But we also have the national championship. So, there's a lot of good stuff going on, not just baseball, national championship. And if you watch that Gonzaga-UCLA game, I think you had a good weekend if you watched that game. Of course, if you were on UCLA, maybe not as much, but it was a fun weekend with that game anyway.
No, it certainly was. Over in my place here, Jason, a little bit of apple pie moonshine, a little bit of cigars, a little bit of family, a little bit of wagering. Perfect weekend coming up here. And when we're talking alcohol, we're talking shows in baseball. Hey, look, there's Kyle Purviance over there. Welcome in, Kyle.
That's it. That's what we do. And we got a big Masters show after this. So it's Masters week and baseball week. The spring weather is out. So we got to have the tall boy Corona. It was a great weekend. If I could hit my driver, I got this new driver. I can't hit the damn thing to save my life. That was the only blip on the radar this weekend, but I'm excited for baseball. A great day on Friday, but like we like to say, it's early, so don't give us too much credit for being right and don't hate us too much for being wrong. But so far, we're off to a great start and really appreciate everyone joining us in here and excited to be here.
And the good part is Kyle did say, because we did preface this by saying, April, don't pat us on the back too much. Since we've been doing well, pat us on the back a lot. That's but right. If we lose again, look, we told you. We're not supposed to win all that much in April. But here it is today. We got a nice slate on the card. Jason brought up a great point. You do have the national championship game tonight tipping off at 9:20. Don't even get me started on the 9:20 tip. Yeah. But we have afternoon baseball all the way through. Some good matchups here. We did have one postponement that we were going to have on our card. But it's like, hey, it's not like there's only 5 games today. We got a lot of stuff to get through and have some fun. And as always, one of the best parts about this show, we can dip into some live in-game wagering. Take a look at the Twins right now on the board with the Detroit Tigers. 1-0 Minnesota Twins. If you wanted to jump in on the money line, minus 240 now for those Minnesota Twins. Detroit Tigers coming in at a plus 186 and an over 8.5. Jason, any thoughts on this game going on right now, which actually was going to start earlier, but had to go wait an hour due to some rain. Looks like clear conditions the rest of the way here.
Yeah, I like the Twins at the start. I still like them now. I think Urena's been terrible against lefties throughout his career, especially last year. So, the only thing that kind of kept me off was the Twins weren't really going to start many lefties in this game. I think they had 3 or 4. So that was kind of the one thing that kind of took me off the game. But I still like the Twins, and I think they're going to get the job done in this one. So right now, I would say there's probably no value.
Yeah, I don't have anything just yet here. But again, we'll be on the show for a while. If anything updates or changes, like last week, had a nice one that actually came in after the show within and by the way, Kyle, how about this? An Indians team total live came in. surprise in that game. But anything, any looks here, Kyle, on this game? Minnesota Twins, Detroit Tigers, Urania, Schumacher.
I did a little tiny thing before the game, the first 5 minus half for the Twins. I do like the Twins in this one, but now the number's so juiced up. It doesn't really, unless you feel strongly about the underdog here and you're trying to get some value and hope for a miracle, that's the only way I'd play this. Just not enough value. So for me, it's probably a pass unless, maybe you're a hardcore Tigers guy or you really hate the Twins. If you want to get some value there, I wouldn't recommend that. Jason's exactly right. Urena struggles. There is only 3 lefties, but Kepler and those guys, they smack the ball off of Urena. Minnesota's the pick here, but again, not a lot of value.
You got it. If you guys are watching, here's some live baseball in the chat box. Let us know what's going on, any updates, any plays that you have during that first game that is underway. Thank you guys for joining the chat box. As we said, we would grow this thing about a minute or 2 here into the show. Already 75 people watching live. Let's have some fun and kick it off here because we are going to go once again to the first place Philadelphia Phillies. I don't know if I'm not going to be able to say that the entire summer. I expect a wire-to-wire win here. But if you're looking from a Mets perspective, you got delayed on opening day. Hey, maybe a wasted of the DeGrom start going up against Scherzer, where it was a 1-0 game. Look like you're going to waste the DeGrom start as he goes up against Matt Moore. If we set the table, 957, 958 opened up offshore Pinnacle at minus 210 for the Mets. Has come down a little bit here, Pinnacle to minus 193, over under 7.5. Decent weather here in Philadelphia, which we saw a pretty cold weekend. But cold weather, warm weather, batters, no batters. DeGrom, I expect a phenomenal start out of Jacob DeGrom today. 98 on the black for 7 innings. Good luck with the Philadelphia Phillies on getting hits. But the one thing I do like to say here, what a restart out of the Phillies bullpen compared to last year. Yeah. Phenomenal work. We'll see if it continues. Hard for me to pick a side in this game, not because I like the Phillies, but it's such a one-sided advantage for – look, the Phillies have a decent lineup, don't get me wrong. But when DeGrom's on the mound and you're countering with Matt Moore, not all things are going to work out well. Jason, what are we looking at here between the Mets and the Phillies here on Monday?
Yeah, so this is the only game where you're getting the number 1 starter going up against the number 4 starter because the Mets couldn't play their first 3 games of the season. So, you're getting DeGrom against Matt Moore, who, he pitched in Japan last year. Wasn't even good enough to pitch in the majors last year. Of course, he pitched well enough in Japan to get another shot in the MLB. But if you go back to his time with Texas and with Detroit, Texas, he was 3-8 with a 6.79 ERA. Wasn't really good at all. Looks like walks weren't too high, strikeouts were okay, but he allowed a ton of hits in those games. And the Mets, they weren't too bad against lefties last year, so I expect that to continue, especially with Lindor in the lineup, who's now a switch hitter and really a force on both sides of the lineup, and that's what makes him so good. And then you got DeGrom. This is a guy that every year he's in the running for the Cy Young, and make no mistake, he's going to be doing that again this year, and he's going to start it off, pretty hot against the Phillies, who are also hot right now, which means they're going to have to cool off eventually. So I like DeGrom to cool him off, and obviously I like the Mets to get the win. I would recommend minus 1.5 or Mets over just 4 runs at minus 130. They would need just 5. If you're looking at that total, be careful. The total is like 7.5, which means you need 8. You can just get the Mets to get 5 runs instead of worrying about the Phillies to get 2 runs versus DeGrom. And while that's they're still capable of doing that against the Mets, if DeGrom comes out in the 7th and the bullpen does poor, whatever. But the reality is, Trevor May's now on the Mets in the bullpen. Diaz had a much better season last year. So the Mets aren't that big of a laughingstock this year, especially in the bullpen. Yes, you can still laugh at them, fine. But the different ownership, different team, different Mets. So I expect the Mets to come out strong here.
Right. Cape says Quinn has the best numbers versus DeGrom. Let that sink in. If anybody doesn't know, Roman Quinn, who can't hit anything. Jason could go up right now and throw BP and strike Roman Quinn out repeatedly. But if he has the best numbers against DeGrom, that's how you know it's tough. And we always talk about like aces that you go up against. If you're a Phillies fan, if you beat DeGrom, fantastic. But you're really going into this game, even though they're 3-0. Hopefully we keep it close. Hopefully we knock them out and see what happens. It's not really a great way to go. Real quick, Jason, before I throw it over to Kyle, run lines. I like, I'm been known to dabble in the first 5 innings. I look at this as another decent shot. Keeping the juice down under 150. Mets on the run line here, first 5 innings, minus a half run at minus 140 in that range. Be really shocked if the Phillies had a 2-1 lead after 5 innings, to be honest. What do you think about first 5 innings here tonight?
Yeah, I would do the first 5 innings. I would do the entire full game spread.
Hey, now look, I didn't expect you to go all over the place. Not my Phillies. Go ahead.
Hey, it's when you get DeGrom against a number 4 pitcher, and that doesn't happen too often because every game, all the games are kind of played around the same time. Even when DeGrom would face a number 2 starter, he would still be minus 1.5 here for the Mets. So you're getting him against Matt Moore, a guy who didn't pitch in the MLB last year. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, it is pretty good. I'll tell you what else is pretty good here, Kyle. Before we get talking about this baseball game, 84,400 people have hit the subscribe button here at sportsbookreview.com. Continue to do that. We need to get to 100,000 subscribers by football season. You click the notification bell, turn it on. We go live in the middle of the day to talk some Major League Baseball. You can come in here and say hello, just like Ramon Scott, Vitalis, Andrew Yang. Hey, about that, Andrew Yang's in here. Akbar's in here. Michael, thank you guys for coming in and joining us here. But Kyle, let's get to it here. Philadelphia Phillies, New York Mets on a Monday night. Delayed opening day for the Mets. Lineup looks pretty good for the Mets, and so does DeGrom.
Yeah, and I'm glad Jason brought up Lindor. 8 of 13 lifetime, including a home run off Matt Moore. And so when Matt Moore isn't moonlighting as a third-string quarterback for the Chiefs, apparently he's a crappy pitcher out in the NL East. So that's always good. And just to touch on, there is actually one hitter on the Phillies who have had some success against DeGrom. That is Bryce Harper. 11 of 38 lifetime. That's a 289 average. 4 of those hits were extra bases, including 2 home runs. So if you want to one-off Harper, I guess, against DeGrom, you can. I have zero interest in the Phillies. The one thing I did think about, their team total sitting at 2.5, and I love those kind of pain plays. Like, look, I know DeGrom's going to be lights out, and I know it's going to be tough to score, but even if they put up 1, maybe two runs through 7 2/3, they just need 1 run off that bullpen to hit it. And the Phillies, look, we talked about it. Scoring runs is not going to be the problem for the Phillies. It's going to be their pitching and their bullpen. So far, the bullpen's been solid. They're winning games because they have major league hitters who can hit the ball on that team. So I wouldn't mind if you're wanting to be contrarian, maybe that over 2.5 team total for the Phillies. It's awfully, anytime I see it with any team, I consider it and try to talk myself into it. 1 swing from Bryce Harper can get that done for you. So maybe there, but overall, first 5, I like the Mets. Full game, I like the Mets. I'm right there with Jason. The strikeout prop's a little high. I know 8.5, and I know that DeGrom can get there, but you're really rooting for a lot of good things to happen when you. So that's a little too rich for my blood. Mets full-time, halftime, and I wouldn't mind if you're trying to be contrarian, a sprinkle on that over 2.5 for the Phillies.
Yeah, and I guess maybe the only contrary point point against the contrary that we can look at is maybe the Mets were hoping on opening day, had to stay in Washington a couple of days, didn't really get in the work they were supposed to get in. Now going to go play the Phillies, who have had a couple games. We'll see how it does play out. But the one thing I do know for sure is a little bit more rest for Jacob's DeGrom arm. Never hurt anybody. Not freezing cold weather conditions. There's no reason to believe that he can't come in close to 90 to 100 pitches in this game. The only downfall from an offensive perspective in Philadelphia, wind blowing in from left field about maybe 60 degrees and dipping probably once the game does start. So only detriment there, but a good one. Looking forward to it. I love the Phillies. Jason loves the Mets. We always have this nice little rivalry going, and we'll certainly keep that on the men. Let's keep moving forward because we're going to switch up from the East Coast and go right to the West Coast with a marquee game that we're going to talk about, the Dodgers and the Oakland Athletics. And I hear you guys talking in the background as we take a look. And actually, before we do that, I know it's on the marker directly. Let's hit Brewers Cubs first because my odds board doesn't show the same thing. So credit me for not actually paying attention to the rundown here. So let's go once again to Milwaukee and Chicago. Anderson and Williams on the bump. If we take a look, it takes a while to get these totals out. Wind is blowing dead out to center field Chicago. I expected a little bit higher of a number than 9.5. There's a reason why for that. Jason, I'll start with you first. What are we looking at in this ball game here?
Yeah, so it doesn't really matter what's going to happen with the wind. If Anderson gets ground balls 58% of the time, and that's what he did last year. He got 58% of ground balls. Obviously, not a big strikeout guy. Neither of these guys are. Trevor Williams not a high strikeout guy either. But Anderson was able to limit walks. Williams wasn't that bad. 3.42 walks per 9. Yeah, I mean a little bit pretty bad actually. But if you look at it last year though, and I know some people are going to be asking like, when do you wait until to look at like the stats this year compared to last year's stats? It takes me about maybe 2 weeks until I start looking at this year's stats compared to last year's stats. So I'm still focused on last year's stats. I know there's some guys that are back, some guys that opted out that are back, obviously new faces around, but for the most part, things are pretty equal and how people perform kind of the same. The Brewers hit 215 against righties at home last year with an ISO of just 140. The Cubs were also awful against lefties at home last year, hitting just 153 average. They worked out walks a lot, but Anderson, a strike thrower, a guy that will get ground balls, won't walk anybody, just strikes after strikes after strikes and get those ground balls. Neither of these pitchers were really bad with pressure situations. They're about average each, both 70% LOB percentage. So I expect both these guys to pitch pretty well in this game. We'll see what happens, but getting that extra number, being under 5.5 in the first 5 innings, it made me want to take it. I'm not high in the Pirates offense or Pirates. I keep saying the Pirates because of Williams, but no, I'm not. With the Cubs and Brewers, look, we always talk about the Cubs are always giving out duds, always dud performances with the Cubs. And this is a perfect time for this against Anderson. And Milwaukee, we just saw them strike out a ton in the last series, and that's going to continue on with this one. Williams, not a terrible strikeout pitcher, 8 strikeouts per 9 innings. So I like the under 5.5 in this one in the first 5 innings. But like I said, there's tons of new faces everywhere. I'm already getting verschmeckled here and there with all these different new faces. But again, I do like the first 5 under here.
And I can agree with you because when you look at it again, anytime you have the wind blowing out in Wrigley, it's automatically an overlook. So when that line came out at 9.5, you dig deeper in, and Jason hit the nail on the head. Just look, I mean, forget about Chicago. I'm just looking at Milwaukee. And when we talk about, Trevor Williams pitching to contact, which is sometimes a good thing for a pitcher, but for him, straight fastball down the middle, pitching to contact doesn't really work out. But look at the weighted on base averages last year when you're going up against right-handed batters, taking a look at Milwaukee's offense. Keep in mind, once again, weighted on base average is something I really like, and it uses the theory of not all base hits are created equally, because if you have 1,000 singles in a row, it's 1,000. But if you have 1,000 home runs in a row, it's still the same batting average. The weighted on base average differentiate that and adds in some power statistics. Look at this. And again, 320 is the Major League Baseball average. If we take a look at this game, weighted on base average, 312 for Wong, Hira 291, Yelich 296, Garcia 266, Shaw 313, Kane 264, Narvaez 273, Urias 270. That is ridiculously bad, as I believe a grand slam just went off in the background here for the Minnesota Twins. So as we told you guys, you should have taken the Twins money line, run line, 2.5, 3.5, and 4.5. If you missed it on the show, shame on you guys. But getting back to it here for you, Jason, you're right. This game doesn't look like a lot of runs for me, but then again, the wind is blowing out. Crazy stuff, Kyle.
Yeah, and I tend to lean Brewers just a little bit here. If you look at Williams' weighted OPS over the last 3 years against righties, that's over 1,100. I mean, that's kind of what we're talking about here. Combined weighted OPS taking the entire lineup today, 942. I don't have great feeling on this game. I like the under 5.5 in the first 5. I think that's a great call by Jason. If I'm leaning a team here, I'm going to take that plus. I think it just moved to plus money for the Brewers. I'll take the plus money. Hard to trust the Cubs. Do like some of the righties in their batting order for DFS. Chris Bryant, etc., has had a little bit of success, 2 or 3 lifetime with the home run. So if you want to look in DFS, looking for a home run call, Chris Bryant could be a guy. Rizzo could get there. But I'm leaning the Brewers here. I like that under first 5, under 5.5 in the first 5, and a slight lean to the Brewers, but not a ton that I love in this game. It's pretty even. You can find so many flaws, and you can find the strengths the other way. It's pretty even. I'd lean the Brewers, take the better number. But that's about it. And yes, you can just call me that. I do like that nickname there in the chat box. I've been called that for years and years and years. It's the easiest way to do it.
There you go.
So you may as well just all do it. But yeah, slight lean to the Brewers, but I like that under 5.5 first 5 a lot.
Yeah, how about Arthur Meade here? Like the Minnesota team total over. Well, good for you, Art, because you are already ready to log off and take a nap here with a nice little victory. So congratulations to you on that team total. For me, in this game, it's a pick 'em for a reason. I think, Kyle, you were just alluding to that. We can look at both sides here and be like, well, that's why it's minus 105. So sometimes in those instances, there's much better games that you can delve into in the card. And also when you're dealing with Wrigley, the wind blowing directly out can wreak havoc on a lot of things. Maybe for me, a slightly into the Chicago Cubs in this game just because they're home, which is a ridiculous theory in Major League Baseball. But that's really what you have in this game. 2 pitchers I can see possibly getting lit up. But then I look at these offenses and say, it's not a lot to be desired in this game where I'm like, oh, man, I really have to get after it on this type of angle. So we'll see what happens in that Milwaukee-Chicago game. But now, finally, let's get out to the West Coast in Kyle's area here for a really good one. Dodgers and the Oakland Athletics, if we set the table in this game, opened up at minus 150 as a favorite to the Dodgers, who have May start as their starting pitcher. That goes up a little bit higher to minus 158, a total, which opened up at 9, now down to 8.5 out of a lot of outlets in the spot. This is probably the game of the night. Shame, because look, we love the Dodgers. We love watching Oakland, but we also love watching college basketball. But this one is a good one here. I'll start with you first here, Jason. Give me some looks on this Oakland Athletics Los Angeles Dodgers game.
Both these offenses are really good. And, when I dug down deeper, it was weird because Montez has been such a better pitcher at home compared to the road. And obviously Oakland is a pitcher's ballpark and whatnot, but he's been so much better. And it's night and day. Like maybe not even night and day. It's like morning, to night. That's the big of a difference it is. But look, both these pitchers have been pretty good in their past. You got Oakland. They're probably going to walk a ton in this game. They've been good at getting walks against righties. And then you have the Dodgers. They're just, if you look at their weighted OBA, they're ridiculous. It's like 0.42. Just go down the list.
Yep.
And they're all just money. So we got 2 great pitchers, but we also do have some terrific some bats in this lineup. So I would take the over if I had to choose here. And that's what I would do. I would look at the over. but it's just a lean for me.
Astros put up some runs here against Oakland in Oakland under a little bit better conditions. We talked about last week, one of the games I liked with the Houston Astros team total over, which came in fairly easily. That game at first pitch at night came in around 70 degrees. Take a look at what we're looking at tonight. Around first pitch, 56 degrees. That marine layer comes in out on the West Coast. So not optimum hitting conditions. But having said that, Frankie Montas got exposed a little bit last year against left-handed bats. We're looking at an estimated lineup for the Dodgers tonight. The left-handed bats in here, Seager, lefty, 422 weighted on base average versus righties. Bellinger, 373 weighted on base average against right-handers. Max Muncy, 338 against right-handers. Rios, 360, and Lux, clear. Looks like he's going about ninth tonight is what they're anticipating. A 319, not great, but their ISO power numbers are off the chart. I had 4 games circled today with team total possibilities. This was one of them. Not my best bet of the night, but I got to say, not a bad number here for the Dodgers. 4.5 team total, minus 116. They're the road team. You're going to hear me say this a lot, which Jason and I, we did shows last year. I didn't have to do this. I lean a lot more to National League clubs going into the American League so I can pick up that quote-unquote universal DH that they would have now since they're in an American League ballpark. That's going to play out a lot over the summer because I'm now leery about giving away free outs. You don't have to worry about that. They're in Oakland. They'll get a full 9 at-bats. If I'm going anywhere in this game, I'm looking at a team total for the Dodgers. Kyle, taking a look at this game between Oakland and the L.A. Dodgers, any hot bats we should look at and which way we may be leaning in this game as well?
Yeah, I'm leaning Dodgers, and I love that team total. It's one of the ones I circled as well. I think they get over that 4.5. And the interesting thing about the Dodgers as well, we're talking about the lefties going against Montas. A couple of the righties, both Justin Turner and Will Smith, over the last 3 years, their weighted OPS is 20 and 16 points higher. So they actually hit righties better. So you're not getting a break when you get the right-handed bats coming up because both Turner and Will Smith both have hit righties over the last 3 years better than they've hit lefties. I'm all on the Dodgers. I like the over 4.5. Stack those Dodgers. You're getting a nice little value, especially on FanDuel for Chris Taylor. You're getting him at 2,700. You got 31, 63, 4, 68, 103% advantages. These are kind of the advantages we're talking about today against Montas. I do think Oakland wakes up a little bit. I would almost lean the over in this entire game because I do think the A's can get over their 3.5 as well against May. But really the bet that I feel the most comfortable with, I like the Dodgers. I think they win this game. And I also like over 4.5 team total. I think that's a great number. And we probably won't get that number very often with the Dodgers this year if they keep doing what they're doing. We're going to be running into a ton of 5.5s, et cetera, which make it a whole lot scarier. Over 4.5 for the Dodgers. I think they can get there early. I like the Dodgers, like the over team total.
Yeah, see if one of those balls can leave the yard tonight, because that certainly would help out. And again, you're in an American League ballpark with that 4.5, waiting for the Oakland A's to wake up, get a little bounce back or whatnot. Because I was looking at them, maybe you can go head to head with the Astros. I'll tell you what you can't do: lose 3 or 4 games in a row to them and think you're just going to make that up easily. That is a tough grave to dig, especially when you are in your home ballpark and getting dominated like that. Taking a look here at the Minnesota Twins and the Detroit Tigers, this is why we love in-game betting that we can talk about. The Twins are up 6-0. I'm looking at FanDuel right now. There is a line plus 6.5 on the Tigers. So it ended, you would get a win with the Tigers. Really quickly from both of you, what are we thinking about getting 6.5 runs? And by the way, guys, this is the second inning, and they're getting 6.5 runs.
Oh, Jesus.
What do you think, Kyle or Jason?
Ooh. I mean, look, when I get to that level with the 6-0, you move on to the next game. There's how many more games on the slate? I wouldn't, I'm not, number one, I'm not a big live guy in the first place. But number two, it's only the second inning. So all the Twins have to do is just win by 1 run the next 7 innings, which is very possible because we all said the Twins are the better team here. So I wouldn't touch it either direction. I would just move on. Big slate ahead. Lots of good luck. So I wouldn't bother.
No, and I wouldn't bother too much with it either, unless you have a shoebox under your bed for Schumacher, and it's minus 6,000 on the money line. But also, how about this? 6-0 here in the second inning. We're probably not going to get the best looks from the bullpen, meaning you're not going to bring your closers in for this game if we anticipate a blowout. How about the over 13 in this game? Any thoughts on that between you two here? Because when I look at that, it seems like a big number still because there's 7 runs to go. but we're basically starting a fresh game here. It's still only the second inning and bad bullpens. I think that 13 is doable. I do. What do you think? We'll start with you, Kyle. Go ahead.
I think you're right. Yeah, because I think that's a great point. You're right. You're not going to see your closer. You're not going to see your setup guy. These are going to be guys like, all right, let's get you a few innings.
Yes.
So the prospect is there. And listen, I played baseball a long time. It was my favorite sport to play. Played it up through college. Sometimes when these games start like that, runs pile on. It's just the nature of the beast. The other dugout gets a little bit down. They're a little less focused. You can see more errors, etc. I think that's possible. I'm with Jason. Not with a 10-foot pole would I touch this game right now. If I made a bet early, which I did, I took the over half first 5, so I'm already snoozing on this one, and I'm happy with my little win there. But I think you're right. If you're going to look at an angle, it'd be going over that total because, again, you're going to see the who is not of pitchers in this game. These teams are not going to be throwing out their aces for the rest of the game. That's just how it is. So.
Yep. We'll keep you guys updated on that as well. Any thoughts, Jason, on that? Because now as we end the inning and head into the third inning, still seeing 13s pop up on the board. Maybe if it dips down another inning with 12, might be seeing that happen. Any thoughts on this 13 or just going to pass on it for the time being here?
Well, if you're really nervous that you're going to lose that minus 0.5 in the first 5, you can hedge with the over 13 if you're that nervous because then that means you'll have 13 runs, 7 + 6. So that's my only. If you're really nervous that you're going to lose this bet, but up 6-0, then you go that way. But outside that, forget it.
All right, boys, let's keep moving here. 4:00 games, which you do have a few of those. 2 of those, Toronto and Texas will start first, then Kansas City and Cleveland. Down in Texas, welcome in. Ain't worried about no capacity problems here. Load them in, 41,000 opening day down in Texas. The roof is open. It is Texas. We're seeing first pitch around 80 degrees. Let that ballpark heat up and the ball fly out as we take a look today. Mats versus Fultonavich. If we set the table on this, Pinnacle opened up at a minus 156 on the road team coming to town today, the Toronto Blue Jays. That now sits at 144. If we take a look at a total, sitting at 9.5 across the board, so you will need 10 runs to get after it in this one. Going to start with you first here, Jason. What are we looking at here between Toronto and Texas?
So now we have 2 pitchers going up against each other, different teams for the first time. Obviously, Fulte was a Brave for a long time. Now he's a Ranger. Now you have Mats, longtime Met. Now he's with the Blue Jays. So 2 guys not really familiar with the AL East or any of the AL, really. So this is going to be interesting for sure. So I would go with the over 9.5 at plus 100. I saw it earlier. I like the Blue Jays minus 162, and I think the Blue Jays have a little bit more going for them here. Obviously, the Rangers, we've seen some good offense out of them a little bit so far. Obviously, against the Royals, they did pretty well, but I do think that Steven Matz, if there's one pitcher that's going to resurrect their career, it's going to be Matz over Fulte. And with that, I do like Steven Matz here to pitch better. If you look against the lefties, and the Rangers have plenty of them, Matz should have a good day striking out some batters. Dahl strikes out 23% of the time against lefties. Gallo 44%. You got Holt 36%, White 36%, Culberson 36%, Lowe 65%. So a lot of strikeouts could be made out of Matz's performance in this game. Just can't get hit hard, which happened a lot of the time with New York. But a big strikeout guy should be able to get the job done. So I like the Blue Jays in this one. I think Matz is the better pitcher, and I think he'll be the better pitcher this season. So I would look here with Matz, especially against the Texas lineup.
Yeah, Fultonavich basically got thrown out of Atlanta. Only had about 3 1/3 innings pitched last year. Struggled in 2019. A guy with a power arm, Fultonavich.
Yeah.
But just can't seem to keep it around the plate. And again, we are going to be in an American League ballpark. Roof is going to be open. Kyle, what are we looking at today between this matchup down in Texas?
I got to tell you, when I started looking at it, I like Toronto long-term futures bet, but I like Texas today. When I see Steven Matz on the mound, I am stacking against it. I think the Rangers are a sneaky stack in DFS. You can get some real value with some low-price bats down here. 2,300, 2,600. Culberson, 2,000, 2 of 6 lifetime, 62% advantage. Both these pitchers stink. Let's just call it what it is. They stunk in the NL East. They're going to stink out here in the American League. But I just have this feeling today. I like Texas. I think you could do a whole lot worse in terms of a plus money line. So I'm leaning Texas, and I'm glad Mark Bullitt said this in the chat box because I love that Texas team total at 3.5. I think they get over that 3.5. I think they light up Mats a little bit, and I will take the plus money underdog. I'll take the Rangers today.
I think we do get some runs in this game. Going to have to get 10, as we said, to climb in. The one thing I don't like, though, is just looking from a perspective from Texas. They didn't hit lefties. So this is your perfect combination of we're still new at statistics this year. Last year, if you look at Texas hit, they just couldn't flat out hit left-handed pitching. But then this isn't Chris Sale from 2017 that they're going up against. It's Matz. If you look at his numbers from last year, he got absolutely torched. So the way I'm looking at this ballgame, I think there are going to be runs. It's an American League ballpark. You know, the road team's going to get 9 at-bats. No George Springer in the lineup, but just looking from a right-handed pitching perspective for Toronto, they did very well last year going up against right-handed pitchers. If we're looking at just some ISO power numbers, Biggio was 187 last year, Bichette 202, Teoscar Hernandez 263, Vladdy Jr. 153, which is he should be a little bit higher than that, but maybe he snaps back. Rowdy Tellez 274, Randall Grichuk 194, and even Danny Jansen a 261. There's some capable bats in that lineup. Yeah. I'm still not quite sold on Fultonavich, but also when you just look down the line, we're talking about opening day. A lot of these starting pitchers, even if they're not good, a la Fultonavich, or even if you take a look at Mats, they're probably going to be done around 5 1/3, 5 2/3 innings, which leaves the bullpen. Toronto's bullpen I do like. Texas leaves a lot to be desired in this game, so I'm going to be looking at a team total in this game for Toronto over 4.5, which I got at 140, which now shows up at minus 135. I think they can get the 5 runs in this one, and again, we're going to preach this time and time again in Major League Baseball. If you get the extra innings with the man on second, it is a boom. It's a shame. I don't know if there's books out there where you could just bet the 9 innings with no extra innings, because you'd be a fool not to do that if you were taking an under in a ball game. But overs just lend themselves. But also keep this in mind. There are a lot of stadiums out here that are domed. There's a lot of stadiums that I laugh at, like Houston down at Minute Maid Park, which sits in the city of Houston, warm weather, and never opens the roof. And you say, well, Donnie, explain this to me. Why does this matter? Just think about it. You sitting in your house right now on a 85-degree day. All the windows are shut. The air conditioner is on. It's cool. It feels good. It's not hot. It's not sticky. Turn your air conditioner off. Open up all your windows and wait 2 hours. You feel the heat. You feel the humidity. The ballpark warms up. Everything jumps when it's hot. The ball travels farther. The roof is open in Texas. It's 80 degrees. I think we'll get some runs in that one. So let's keep it moving here and hit another game. Kansas City and Cleveland. Hey, Kansas City, a little team that could. Cleveland struggling at the plate like we all thought they probably would, but we're still amazed that we still think they should be able to hit. I'm the same way. I did it a lot last year. Like, Cleveland can't get any base hits. I even did an opening day. Like, they got 1 run. We're going to the 9th. Like, what are we doing here? So let's set the table for this one. Duffy's on the mound, the lefty versus Allen. Looking at the line in this one, Pinnacle opened up as a minus 110 as a slight favorite here to the road team Kansas City. It swung all the way to Cleveland. Minus 124s to minus 129s across the board. Total is 9. Jason, I'll start with you first here. Kansas City and Cleveland in the afternoon.
The Indians are really, really good at developing their starting pitching. And so we look at Logan Allen last year, and obviously didn't have a great season. Only 3 games, no starts, 10.2 innings pitched. Only struck out 6 batters per 9 innings, walked 6 batters per 9 innings. So obviously there's not much there. We want more info on Allen. And if you guys watched the Future show that we did a week ago, I said the Indians should be really good pitching, and if they're able to hit, they will be contenders for that World Series. And so far they had 1 game where they finally hit the ball, but I think we're obviously seeing it again where the Indians are going to struggle to hit the ball. But I do think that the Indians will be fine with their pitching. I think Allen will probably be better than what we're seeing out of his stats right now. But with that said, Danny Duffy, he's a guy that's been there before. He's done it before. And he's a guy that he is what he is. ERA 4.95, FIP 4.75. And, if he's able to keep his home runs down, he'll be a solid pitcher. Strikeouts were high last year at over 9 per 9 innings. The walks are a bit high too, but that will come with the territory for Duffy. But yeah, look, I think the Royals plus 110 is probably the play here. I think that the Royals are probably the better team, especially right now. Obviously, they didn't show that yesterday, but they are the better team right now. I would go with the Royals plus 110. You're getting plus money. Why not? So that would be my play. And I would look at, I saw Logan Allen, his over 3.5 Ks was plus 110. That's something to look at. I know maybe Kyle can talk about that a little bit more. I think there's potential there. I think he can get some strikeouts as well. But, we don't know if he's a strikeout thrower yet. We just don't have enough info on him yet. But I do know the Royals, they do struggle against lefties, and they do strike out a ton. So that's maybe a potential look for strikeouts. That's just like taking Phillies to score 2.5 runs against DeGrom, in my opinion.
Yeah, Allen was bad last year, but he only had limited innings, about 10 and, just under 11 innings. So, Kyle, when we shift this over and take a look at this ball game, I've always liked Kansas City. I said they are a sneaky team, total team. Looking at weather conditions in this one, maybe some rain in the forecast, wind blowing in at 9 miles an hour in Cleveland. Not optimum conditions, but if we're taking a look at some numbers that make sense, Allen is a lefty. If you look at last year and early to the start this year, looking at that Royals lineup, not bad here. Look at the weighted on base average, and the lineup is official today. So, Whit Merrifield, 361. Benintendi's in the second hole, terrible, 174. But after that, it picks up. You got a nice little stack here. Santana, 348. Salvador Perez, 328. Soler, 331. Taylor, 345. Alberto, 376. McBroom, 401. Some really good numbers to deal with here. We finding some value in Kansas City? What are we looking at for you here, Kyle?
Donnie, we're going to turn you into a DFS guy. Yes, you're going to be the DFS guy because you took the words right out of my mouth. I love Kansas City today. I actually think Duffy's a decent mid-price pitcher. You're getting for $7,400 on FanDuel, 7.7 on DraftKings. Look, I got the tweet this weekend, and I think it's true. The Indians couldn't score in an Eastern European brothel. That's the bottom line. These guys cannot score. They cannot seal the deal. They can't. I cannot watch them strand another runner on third base with 1 out. I don't know if I can take it anymore. The picks the Royals plus money. I love the Royals team total over 3.5, and you are absolutely right about stacking those Royals. Nobody's expensive. The most expensive guy is going to be Whit Merrifield, which I love to play in the leadoff hole. He steals bases, hits triples. Big-time fantasy guy. In fact, 2 out of the 3 games already this year, he scored 31 and 38 fantasy points. Those are massive games. I think they get it done. We don't know a lot about Logan Allen. You're absolutely right. So he could he could surprise us here, but I like the Kansas City team total over 3.5, and I love that plus money line. And by the way, guys, over 250 people watching. Thank you. Yeah, only 49 of you hit thumbs up. Let's go. Hit the like button for us, or I'm going to have to drink more beer than I'm supposed to on the show. So hit the damn like button. Let's get rolling. I like Kansas City. Give me that plus money, and I like stacking them today in DFS as well as Duffy.
Yeah, look at that. So you have 9s across the board. We're going against the grain in this one with where that line opened. You get a little bit of steam on Cleveland, but I do think that Kansas City lineup sets up decent here for some runs. We'll see if that comes to fruition. Let's keep going and head back to the Bronx here. Not a great start for the Yankees offense, but let's just see if they can break out today. 969, 970. Baltimore, who leading the division, interesting enough to say, versus the New York Yankees. You got Lopez and Montgomery setting the stage for this one. No surprise, the Yankee tax is back more than ready than ever. Minus 205 to 220 here for Montgomery on the mound. Over under opened up at 10, now sitting at 9.5 in this game. I'll start with you first here, Jason. Baltimore and the New York Yankees. Price is high, so we're going to have to try to delve into what we like. Maybe a total, maybe an under, maybe a team total. What are you looking at here, Jason?
I expect Montgomery to have a better season this year. I think he's really on the cusp of being, one of the starters that the Yankees could trust going into the season. So I like the Yankees here. Montgomery, he's a guy that had nearly 10 strikeouts per 9 innings, walked under 2 per 9 innings. Home runs are going to come. You're in Yankee Stadium. That's going to come. That's going to happen. He left 65% of runners on base. That's, a little bit below average, but not too bad. His ERA was 5.11, but then his FIP just 3.87. So I do think Montgomery will be a better pitcher this year. I think his ERA definitely goes down this year. I think he becomes a starter the Yankees can rely on this year. So I like the Yankees here, minus 1.5. If I had a lean, you'll never really see me take minus 1.5, especially in the MLB. It's not worth it to me. But I still like the over for the Yankees on their team total. When I see 5.5, it's a little bit much for me. I mean, yeah, I think they can do it. But if we watch the Jays game, they did strand a ton of runners on base. Like one of the Blue Jays games, they had like over 20 runners on base and just got 5 runs. It's like, come on. But like when the Yankees get hot, we'll pound them. They're not hot yet. They don't look great offensively. LeMahieu looks all right. Some of the other guys look okay. But that when that meat of the order, like Stan and Judge, when those guys get going and they start hitting bombs, that's when we're gonna really pound the Yankees over the team total. But right now, we're not seeing that. So I'm not touching this game. I do like the Yankees to get the job done here, and I would look at the Yankees over on the team total. And, the Orioles, their offense has looked pretty good so far as well. We'll see if that continues. But, again, I do like Montgomery. Can the Orioles get, 3 or 4 runs? probably, maybe. So maybe it'll be over 10, but I'd rather just put all my eggs into the Yankees, not worry about the Orioles if I had to pick this game.
Yep, I got this game circled here with the Yankees team total over 5, minus 145 at William Hill. I do think they can do some damage. Decent hitting conditions today in the Bronx. Got about 65 degrees, wind blowing out to right field, about 18 miles an hour. We'll see how much that's more of a crosswind or not. But again, the wind's not blowing in. It's not 45 degrees. You should get some good hitting conditions. I look at this lineup here, Kyle, for the Yankees. Just based on early this year and last year's statistics, just to keep it short, the ISO numbers are incredible versus righties. The weighted on base average for the anticipated lineup tonight is very good. Here's the one issue that I have, if there's any issue, if you're looking to back the Yankees team total. Lopez got absolutely destroyed by left-handed batters last year. The anticipated lineup tonight, Hicks and Bruce as the only lefty. So if I'm looking for like a sneaky player that a lot of people might not have, Jay Bruce is a lefty in the lineup today. Looks like a decent type of opinion. But that's the only thing that kept this away from making it one of my best bets of the day, was the fact that they're not dominant there's not a lot of left-handed dominant bats against Lopez. But outside of that, I still think the Yankees can get to their team total over 5. What are you looking at here in this game in the Bronx between the Orioles and the Yankees, Kyle?
Yeah, I love this game, and I'm glad you brought up the weather, because I was going to ask you as the resident meteorologist of the group. Donnie is our resident meteorologist, but it looks like that wind is howling out there, and the ball should fly a little bit. I actually love the Yankees today. My boy Dan the Man, God rest his soul, years ago, he was the biggest Yankee fan I ever knew, and he would tell me, I don't care what the numbers say. If Aaron Judge faces a righty, he's going to hit a home run. So I like Aaron Judge to hit a home run in honor of Dan the Man today. I think the Yankees smash. I love the team total. And if you're looking for a better number, someone mentioned there's not a lot of sharps on either side of that. It's because there's no value there. The value is just not there. The Yankees tend to dominate Baltimore. I like Montgomery as well as a value pitcher on FanDuel. On DraftKings, it's a standalone single-game slate. But on FanDuel, you're getting him at 6,900. I do think there's some value there. I think he can have a nice game. I love the Yankees. So I took the first 5 minus a half at minus 140 to get a little bit better number on the Yankees today. I think they get it done. I think they get over that team total as well. And Jay Bruce, I'm glad you brought him up at the end of that order. 2,300 on FanDuel, 3,200 on DraftKings, some legit value there. And he's one of those guys who can get you those doubles, get you those triples. He does weird things. Jay Bruce, when he's cheap, always finds a way to get value. Former Philly, of course. He did it for me all year, last year, year before, with the Phillies. I like the Yankees today. I think they hit their team total, and I like that first 5 minus a half. I think you get a little bit better of a number there, minus 140.
Yeah, I think they could do some damage here. 640 tonight, 953, 954 on the rotation. St. Louis and Miami. Ponce de Leon versus Rogers, the lefty on the mound. We got basically a pick 'em in this game. Pinnacle opened up at minus 104 each side. Now is a minus 115 towards Miami. Here's an interesting part again when we're taking a look at splits based off early season projections and last year. If we look at Rogers, the lefty, had a great xFIP last year, 340. Man, sign me up on this kid. He got blown away from right-handed bats, which you're going to get a heavy stack today from St. Louis from right-handed bats. But here's the issue. Just because it's a right-handed bat doesn't mean they're always going to hit the lefty. Look at the numbers from last year versus left-handed pitching on this baseball team. Nolan Arenado, a 242 weighted on base average. DeYoung, 233. O'Neill, 233. Carlson, 216. Dean, 0. You figure, like, when you see the lefties versus the righty stack, where do I sign up? But it's the ultimate, brain freeze in this one, Jason. And I'm looking at this saying, they should rake them, but wait, they can't rake them. What are you looking at in this game, Jason, the story?
And that's why I would look at the Marlins here. But no, this is a hard game.
No, don't let our groans get you. Get after
No, this is just a lead for me. I'm not touching this game because, like what Donnie said, this is a Cardinals team that, what the heck? I mean, what did he just read? How's that even possible? Especially like a guy like Arenado. But these guys are going to strike out a ton of batters, and they're also going to walk a ton of batters, and they might allow a lot of home runs in this game as well. But then also, all these bats on both teams absolutely stink. So it's like, what are you going to get out of this? Like Ponce de Leon, 28% ground balls. What's with that? And then you have Rogers, his LOB percentage, left on base percentage is 67.5, and his batting average of balls in play for when batters hit the ball was 380. So when they were hitting the ball, 38% of the time they were getting on base with base hits. That's ridiculous. So that should go down a bit. And then Ponce de Leon, his BABIP, batting average of balls in play, was 221. Well, how's that possible? That should be higher. So both these guys have weird numbers, and you think that they're probably going to go back to the average because you can't sustain either direction. And with that said, Rogers, if both these guys were to sustain the average, Rogers would be in a better position here. With that said, I like the Marlins here, and I think over 8. I think the 8 is really low. Like I said, I do think that these pitchers are going to allow some runs. You look at the lineups, not so much, but again, all you need is a 4-4 game, and you get the over 8. So with that said, I like the Marlins here, but I'm not going either direction, so don't hold me hostage here.
Yeah, if I'm trying to just zero in, I guess you would look at Miami maybe for the first 5 innings and figure they have it. But it's really hard to look at and say, well, this guy can't get any right-handed bats out, and then here comes St. Louis stacking right-handed bats. So it definitely messes with your mind. And also, Kyle, I know you're big into this. Ponce de Leon, state of Florida. Does he find the fountain of youth? I mean, there's a lot of stuff we can, certainly hit with that. What are we looking at this game from your perspective?
Or was he in the club last night, loving that? I mean, there's a lot of things that go down with Ponce de Leon right there. Yeah. So that is the one little thing that made me nervous. When I first looked at this, I was like, maybe I could take this Cardinals 3.5 team total because they got all these right-handed bats and they should really be able to get there. And then this is a weird one where the numbers don't add up. It's like Tommy La Stella against those 2 left-handed pitchers. He faced the 2 left-handed pitchers he's ever gotten a hit off in his entire damn career. And that's sort of what we have going on here. This game is really weird for me. I agree with taking that first 5 on Miami. That's flipped. I'm looking at a plus 110 first 5. So this is another one of those games where you don't really trust either side and the numbers seem kind of weird and don't give you a big lean either way. Why not just take the plus number first 5? If it happens, it's over early. If it hurts you, it's over early. So I guess that's where I would lean, right, is the Miami first 5 -0.5 plus 110. And I don't necessarily hate that Cardinals 3.5. It feels like they should be able to get over that. Yeah. But it's iffy. It's risky. It's risky, even though it shouldn't be.
What about yesterday, right? So they're going up against the Reds. They're going up against Huffman, and they got 1 run in the entire game. So, right. Nothing with the Cardinals makes sense. Nothing with the Marlins makes sense. This is a weird game for sure.
Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you what else doesn't make sense. When we move to the next game, 9:55, 9:56, and we talked about Daniel Ponce de Leon, and then here we go again with a De Leon on the mound. So shout out to the family lineage here going on. But Pittsburgh's got Brubaker on the line. Cincinnati's got the righty De Leon. If we take a look, heavy numbers coming out. Pinnacle opened up at minus 137 in the favor of the Cincinnati Reds. That now shifted to 157, a 9.5. Now jumps to a 9. What we opened at now shifts to a 9.5 across the board. So some runs are expected. I actually like a team total in this game. I'm going to let you start first here, Jason. What's your initial thoughts on Pittsburgh and Cincinnati tonight?
Again, this is just a lean for me. I guess I'm going against the De Leons today. I think I like the Pirates in the first 5 with plus money here. De Leon didn't get a start last year. I think he just went 6 innings pitched, walked a ton of batters in those 6 innings, really struggled with under pressure. And I think if Pittsburgh can get some runners on base, they'll be able to score some runs. It's not going to be pretty, but the Pirates have to win some games this year. I think this might be one of the games they do.
It could be interesting here. Kyle, go with you in this game. Any thoughts here between Pittsburgh and Cincinnati?
Yeah, I'm actually leaning Pittsburgh the more I look at the numbers. And if you're looking for a value pitcher in DFS, I like JT Brubaker. Look, his last 3 starts, I'm looking for guys in the value range. Maybe they won't get the win, but I want innings. I don't want to pitch a guy that's only going to go out there and they're going to yank him after 3 2/3 or 2 1/3. 17 innings pitched over his last 3 starts, put up a 25 his last time out against Cincinnati. When I look at De Leon, I don't know a lot about this guy. I haven't seen him pitch a ton, but this isn't a big innings monster. Doesn't appear to be an innings monster. Maybe you guys could touch on that a little bit more. I just don't know a ton about him. But I look at the weighted OPS of Pittsburgh's batters versus the stats that De Leon's put up in his limited time, and 852. I think you're getting some value with the Pirates. Look, we're going to probably pick the Pirates 7 or 8 times, maybe the entire year. Let's do it early. Let's get it out of the way. I think I like the Pirates tonight. I'm with Jason, and I think Brubaker is an interesting value pitcher, especially on FanDuel at 6,200.
Struggled a little bit, Brubaker, from the left-handed side last year. He's a right-handed pitcher, but if we're going to take a look at the lineup, which is out, keep in mind also Nick Castellanos is suspended, but in Major League Baseball, you get to appeal and play. So Castellanos is in the lineup batting second tonight. So if we take a look from a left-handed perspective, which Brubaker struggled a little bit, Tyler Naquin's going to be in the lineup, an ISO of 173, which is decent. Joey Votto, 223, which is very good. Mike Moustakas, 252, which is great. And Barnhart in the 8-hole, 233. I think it might be a sneaky total to try to look at, because if we're looking at both sides, not dominating pitchers, so I think both sides will be able to score, and that's what you need. But again, me just trying to ease into team totals in the National League, because you do have the pitcher up. But having said that, the Phillies' probably best batter on the season so far is Zach Wheeler, which is kind of interesting as you lay it out there. Not great for my argument, but looking at it this way, I think the bats will be enough to get runs. The team total 4.5, minus 123 in this game is away. I'm looking. Don't have that as the best play on my card, but certainly one of those, added looks that I'm looking there. So we'll continue and move down the stretch. What do we got? 50 minutes. Look at 50 minutes into the show. Seems like we started 5 minutes ago on this. I know. Certainly having a lot of fun ripping through these games. 280 people watching live, 97 thumbs up. Awesome stuff, guys. Keep bringing it in the chat box. We're going to hit a couple more games quickly, then start answering some questions and see what you guys are digging in the chat box. Let's go right away. 971, 972, Tampa Bay and Boston. Waka and Pivetta on the mound. Hey, Boston, it's time. You get the Apple Watches back out, you kick trash cans, you start screaming when a fastball's coming over the plate. Pretty clear to me, Alex Cora gets back into the dugout. Red Sox stink because they can't cheat. So that's going to be something in this game to watch. Look at the lines, minus 105, totals at 9.5. Just looking at the game itself, Boston is struggling so bad. I have nothing but to lean on Tampa Bay right at the gate, Jason. What are you looking at here? Bounce back in Boston, time to start cheating. What are we doing?
Yeah, this is another interesting game between two pitchers that really didn't have the greatest seasons last year. Both had ERAs above 6, so that tells you all you need to know. But, I mean, yeah, both these pitchers, they don't get ground balls. They leave they're not able to really hold runners on base under pressure, especially last season. Both allowed over 2 home runs per 9 innings, and both, they do get solid strikeout numbers in nearly 10 per 9. So you might get some strikeouts in this game, but you might also get a lot of home runs and hard contact in this game as well. So with that said, I think I would lean towards the over 9.5 in this game. I know that both offenses could give you some heart attacks here and there, but I do think with these pitchers on the mound, I think they'll at least get the over. And if not, maybe you can hit on the Red Sox pitching towards the end of the game,
No, I certainly see Nick Pivetta from of Phillies fame, who's has all the talent in the world, but just can't seem to put anything together and got crushed last year. But looking from a perspective where Michael Wacha will be on the mound, it's not a bad lineup, Kyle, that we're going to look at here from Boston tonight. Just based on the numbers last year, looking at ISO strength against right-handed pitchers. Verdugo 205, Martinez 180, Bogarts 186, Devers 277, Cordero 243, Dalbec 259. There are some decent bats in the lineup. Not a great hitting night though in Boston. Wind blowing, crosswinds 51 miles an hour. So not great hitting conditions, but not bad hitting conditions. If we're going to get a bounce back here where Boston's going to show up at the plate, tonight is a decent look for them in my eyes. What are you looking at?
Yeah, I'm kind of there with you. No, I do think in terms of value pitchers, if you're playing from the DFS perspective, I do think there's some value on Michael Wacha. But it's weird. This is another one where the numbers, so in his career, small sample size against these hitters, they're only 7 to 35 lifetime. He's pitched pretty well, put up 30 fantasy points, got the win his last start. Again, that's last year against Boston, so take that with a grain of salt. But then you look at the weighted OPS versus this lineup and how the weighted adjusted OPS over 3 years, and we're talking 1.006. That's a big number. So then you start to lean over and you look at those Boston advantages in the lineup, and they certainly have them. I think Boston's an interest. I tend not to stack the Red Sox often because just like the Yankees and the Dodgers, they're very popular, and the casual fan will tend to gravitate towards those teams. But you're absolutely right. The Bogarts and the Martinez, all these guys in that lineup, they do have the potential. I think if I was going to lean a team, I would lean Boston just barely. I'm staying away from this game. When I look at the 9.5, I won't be surprised if this goes under. I won't be surprised if this goes just slightly under. So I think I would lean the under on this and Boston, but another game that I stayed away from. Don't mind the upside, though, of Wacha for some value as a pitcher. And I don't mind the upside if I'm dead wrong and this game goes way over. It's going to be because Boston goes off and their bats go off, so it could be an interesting stack for DFS as well.
Yeah, Boston lines out on team totals here. William Hill, 4 -140 if you want to pay to keep it under 150. 4.5 -102. I think there's a legitimate shot that they can get those numbers. 9:38 first pitch tonight. 9:73, 9:74. That's Houston and the Los Angeles Angels. Garcia versus Quintana opened up at 117 offshore Pinnacle. We're still sitting at 117, so no line movement here, but a nice line move on the total. Multiple outlets opened up at 9. We're now sitting at double digits and 10. The Angels did play last night. Houston comes to town pretty hot in this one. Jason, I'll start with you first. Cheap number here on Houston. Hot, or are we looking at the Angels at home? They got it going on, and they can, certainly pick up a W tonight. What are you looking at?
Yeah, maybe the Angels walk-off home run gives them some momentum going to this game, or maybe they're a little bit tired going into this game. But these are both pitchers. Again, we don't have too much info on them from last year. Neither pitched that often. I think Garcia, 12 innings pitched. Quintana, 10 innings pitched. Of course, Quintana's pitched a little bit more in the MLB. But you look at the numbers, the short sample size, and that's also why I'm not going to be betting this game in the first place, because we have short sample. Garcia was probably a little bit more lucky. Lower strikeouts, higher walks, but the batting average of balls in play was really low. Had a FIP of 4.25, but his ERA was 2.99. Again, really small sample size. And Quintana, in his games, he started one game and pitched in 4. He struck out 10.8 batters per 9, 2.7 walks per 9, and his FIP was 2.99 when his ERA was 4.5. So I think I like Quintana a little bit more in this game. Don't expect either pitcher to really put out a gem, and this game will probably go into the bullpen. But I think the Angels, their lineup will get better as the season progresses. It comes down to their pitching and their bullpen. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be a close game throughout. I would lean towards the Angels, but I wouldn't blame anybody for taking the Astros either, because they're hot right now too.
Quick thoughts on this game, Kyle. Houston and the Los Angeles Angels here.
Yeah, I have a small interest in that Houston team total. I think I'd lightly lean Houston. I don't have a ton on this one. Again, it's small sample size from these pitchers. I will say Houston off of Quintana, 20 of 68 lifetime, a 294 average. Yeah, I'm pretty iffy on this one. Maybe the Houston team total, but mostly I'm staying away from this one.
All right, we'll keep it moving here. Under the gun here, so we are going to rocket fire off these last two games, then get the best bets and see if we have any quick comments here in the chat box. San Francisco and San Diego. Any action you have on this game tonight, Jason?
Yeah, I like the Padres over 4 on the team total. Of course, if you see just 4.5, yes, I agree with it. We both need 5. I just like the 4. I like to play it safe. That's just the kind of better I am. I like to play it safe just in case they were to score 4, get my money back, and I live another day. Even if I lost, I'd be living another day because it's a long season. But DeSclafani now with the Giants didn't have the best of seasons last year for the Reds. Started 7 games, pitched in 9, struck out under 7 batters per 9, walked over 4 batters per 9, and also allowed 1.87 home runs per 9. Struggled with runners on base. Ground balls were under 40%. So just disasters left and right for DeSclafani here. And the Padres, they're obviously a really good hitting team. They obviously one of the better teams, especially at home now. They get to be home. And with all that said, if you look at the San Diego Padres bats, if you look at 2 to 6, you have Tatis, Machado, Hosmer, Myers, Cronenworth, all have weighted OBAs above 3.5, ISOs above 250, all in that middle of the order. So I like the Padres. I think they, with that stack right in the middle, I think they get over on their team total right there. And, of course, other guys like Pham, he's not bad at getting walks. Profar probably the one kind of guy that can strike out in this lineup. And Caratini, I would assume he'll be the catcher in this game. He's not the best of hitters against DeSclafani or righties. But outside that, the middle of the order, they're just fantastic. So I'd look at that team total over for the Padres and rely on that middle of the order.
Quick thoughts on this game, Kyle, San Francisco and San Diego.
Yeah, I love the Padres. I love the Padres in DFS for all the reasons Jason just said. Machado, Myers, Tatis, Cronenworth, even Tommy Pham, who's really bad against righties, has been pretty successful against DeSclafani. So it's just one of those things. To get a better number, because some people are worried about the value, I took -0.5, first 5, -110. It's just a much better number, and I like the team total. I like the Padres first 5. I like the Padres full time. I like the Padres on DFS minus the pitchers. I don't want anything to do with any of the pitchers in this game. And I like them, and I like the Padres team total over 4.5 as well. I'm all on the Padres tonight.
All right, got about 1 minute left in the show. I do apologize. We are going to skip over the White Sox and the Seattle game because why? We're trying to get some money into some best bets out here before we get off the air. A lot of content scheduled here at sportsbook.com, so we have to keep it moving along. Thank you guys for coming in. Over 300 people watching live. Best bets and bankers. Jason, start with you first. Very quickly, what do you got here?
Yeah, so I like the Brewers versus Cubs under 5.5 in the first 5 innings at -120. And I'm also on the Padres over 4 in their team total. They got that at -130 on William Hill. Remember, you can get those type of lines on William Hill. If you don't have that, definitely check that out so you don't have to worry about the 4.5 and plus odds. But those are my 2 bets for the day, and we'll try to keep it rolling.
There you go. Kyle, you're up on deck. Let's go. Shot clock is on.
Well, we'll skip the White Sox game, but I will tell you, I like the White Sox money line at -125. I think that's a great bet. I like the White Sox. I like the Padres first 5 -1.5 or -0.5, and I will also take that team total for the Yankees. I think they get over there. Yankees first half, Yankees team total. I think that happens out there in that weather today.
I had 4 games I like. New York Yankees, Reds, Los Angeles Dodgers, and Toronto team totals over. There's only one we can go with on best bets and bankers, and I will do it. Toronto, team total 4.5, -140 at William Hill. Those are the plays of the day. Sorry we couldn't get to clear the bases. 60 minutes, wrapped up the entire show. Golf is coming up shortly here. We will be back tomorrow, 2:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on sportsbookreview.com, breaking down the Major League Baseball card. I'm Donnie Seymour. He's Jason Radowitz. He's Kyle Purviance. We're sportsbookreview.com. Enjoy your wagers tonight and get after it. See you tomorrow.